Talk Radio.
This Blog Talk Radio show is supported and paid for by Cosa Nostra Radio. All expressed views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Cosa Nostra Radio and its leadership.
Well, hey, good evening, everyone. Are you there, Rob? Hello. Oops, maybe I have to do this. I screwed up. Nope. Can't hear you.
Yeah, hey.
There you go. Hey.
There you go.
What's up?
Right on time. All good, all
good.
good.
The beginning.
Yeah, hey. How's it going?
Hey. Good. So I guess we should do the spiel, you know, like we're La Cosa Nostra Radio, and we're located all poetry, and we are a group of poets that can get together and talk about our poetry, discuss our poetry, and we're friends and family, and we're going to hang out tonight and do some poetry about culture. What about the culture, Rob?
Yes, we are. So, first of all, happy International Tea Day to everybody.
Yes, we're having a spot of tea.
Yes, we are. And, well, depending how you have your tea, as someone pointed out, they prefer to add some whiskey to their tea. And it ties in quite nicely with our theme this evening, which is a culture night that we're trying to have. Two of the just basic definitions that we've added on the poster for this evening is just essentially basically the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively, and the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society. So what we were looking for is just basically anything that's a reflection of our society, our environments, and all of that, all of the things that encompass that, whether it's things to do with the cuisine, with the arts, with anything that just is a reflection of our world. We just try to have a bit of a theme going in some of our shows, not to make it particularly complicated, but just to have something that strings everything together. And I think that we've got something like that today. And yeah, as I said, with International Tea Day, there's something quite, special in South Africa we have a indigenous people called the Khoisan people who, in the Cederberg, where a lot of them have traditionally lived, well, they're nomads and hunter-gatherers, but there's a rooibos tea, which is indigenous to the area, and they've fought for years and years to have the royalties and the image rights for this traditional medicine, this plant that they've used in that tea. And eventually, after years, they've got that, which goes a long way towards them protecting their identity as a culture and their languages and all of that, all the funds that are brought in through that. And with that, I don't know, Boo, is anyone on the phones?
Tea's so good for you, right? Tea is good for you. Anyway, people don't really know. I mean, it's really good for you. You should be drinking more tea, actually.
Yes, it is.
Okay. We got 724. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Chi Adams.
Hi, Chi. Mama Chi, how are you?
I'm good.
Our first victim.
How's everybody?
Do you like tea, Mama? Do you like tea? I bet you do. Well, wait, Rob, this is the lady that I wanted you to meet, Rob. She's very spiritual and very much into a lot of the stuff that you like. So that should be interesting. That's Rob. Chi. I don't know if you guys have met.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. Pretty cool. She's pretty cool.
Do you like tea? Tea? That's what you're talking about? Maybe some chai tea?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
I haven't had that yet. But I like the red zinger tea, you know.
I
don't really drink too much tea or coffee. But I do have...
You know why? Because we need to slow down and drink more tea, don't we? Nobody slows down and has tea. Nobody slows down and chats anymore. Everybody's go. Busy. Right?
That's true. You can slow down and communicate.
I agree. You need to get off the phone and into, like, communicating again. It's pretty sad. But
into the coffee shops and that sort of thing. So on that note, we're going to start with a poem that Phil the Poet has provided an audio for.
Okay,
and
ready?
We can play that, then we can kick off the show with that.
Yeah. Perfect poem. All right, you have the poem down? Yeah, Rob?
This is a poem by Phil the Poet called The Artist's Coffee Den. The aroma of coffee mixes with the smell of patchouli oil while a stoned-out hippie plays bongos in the corner. A poet pours out his heart to an audience that doesn't care, sipping their espressos and smoking rolled-up cigarettes. Two artists discussing modern art over an Americano stained paper with 2 spoons of cubism and a slice of surrealism. Artwork on the walls painted by impoverished artists going for £10 to buy food, cigarettes, coffee, and a bit of inspiration. A coffee house called The Den is where I hung out, just watching the characters pretending to be a Van Gogh or a modern-day Rimbaud. Posters on the wall advertising the latest band to play on Fridays. Today, it's the Dharma Bums. Next week, it's the Stooges inspired My Fake Joy. But nowadays, they've knocked the Den down, to be replaced by a shopping mall with no respect for poets or artists anymore. But still you can smell the aroma of coffee with a hint of patchouli oil in between the walls. End poem.
Great write and great read, Phil. Thanks for that. And yeah, that kicks us off quite nicely. As we've said, it's International Tea Day, and quite a large part of many cultures. And I thought this poem was perfect to start. The way that the coffee houses and the sort of coffee shops, if you call it that, form a central part of our societies. And one of the things I thought of, there's a book by an author called Steve Johnson who wrote a book called Where Do Good Ideas Come From? The Natural History of Innovation. And he wrote about the Grand Cafe, which was the first coffee house in the UK, I believe, that opened in 1650, which was crucial to the Enlightenment and all the advancements that came with that. Before that, in Europe, what a lot of the artists, poets, and thinkers would do is spend the day drinking gin or wine or beers or things like that. I mean, the water wasn't exactly safe, so they spend their days boozing. But now all of a sudden they had things like coffee and tea, which obviously is a stimulant compared to, being pretty much drunk the whole day, which obviously kept them going and helped a lot with all these ideas that were the cornerstone of the Enlightenment. I thought of this book last year as well during lockdown, where they were talking about many artists who struggled with that sort of thing, because being in these environments, which is so essential to the birth of ideas, especially some of the movements that he talks about, Cubism, Surrealism, even one of the bands, the Dharma Bums, thinking about Kerouac, who wrote a novel with the same title, who, because of his environment and the movements at the time with the Beats, was able to share that work of literature, which was central to the counterculture of the 60s. And I thought this was a great poem to start us off. Very, very in line with our theme and with a lot of what we will be talking about tonight. What did you think, Boo?
Well, Phil, on the whole time, Phil is, can write anything, and I love his accent, of course, But I like this poem because it's true. It talks about, it's forgotten art, like some other things that I think I've forgotten, but though not necessarily with this, but the little things that make a difference, like the letter writing, the tea, the time, the talking to people. I mean, we've become so disconnected, so connected that we're disconnected, kind of. And I think that his voice is also so gentle, and he just, you want to listen when he speaks. I'm trying to get back over there because my screen is frozen, of course. But I will get right back to you. Oh, there it goes. I think I was going to say. All right, so I like the way that he writes, and he never needs a picture. And I like how he describes the patchouli oil too. That's important. And a coffee house called The Den, where I hang out watching characters pretending to be Van Gogh. All the people in the coffee shop with their big dreams, I see. And the band, I don't know how people even do homework at a coffee shop anyway, because I can't focus in the coffee shop whatsoever. Too loud and people watching, all that stuff. But I like oil in between the walls, so just hearing it vaguely now, because not many people come by there. That's what I see. He says this is an actual coffee house where he lives, where all the poets and artists hang out. Well, now you wouldn't be allowed, I guess, or you'd have to wear your mask. Good poem, Phil.
Yeah, and hippies love that oil, don't they? To sort of mask the smell of the marijuana or the weed or whatever. Just to get that to mask all that.
That's a good tip.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends really. I mean, as he says, it's now a shopping mall, which is not exactly the same sort of environment as a boutique or sort of artisanal coffee house. But yeah, I find that it's good for doing work. Not really a lot of serious, deep thinking work, but it's a nice sort of environment that stimulates, because all of the life, and you get some very interesting characters, of course. And Chi, what did you think of Phil's poem?
Well, I've gotten a chance to go to some of the coffee houses and see the atmosphere and the quality of creative poetry and open mic, and it just brought me back to a time when that was available. Of course, it's not.
Oh, I love
at this time.
Yeah.
But it is a beautiful atmosphere of creative people, and the juices are flowing, and the energy and the environment is very positive and supportive, and the camaraderie is really nice among the people. So it creates its own atmosphere, and so I could relate to it, the poem, in that way. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. If I think about also some of Bob Dylan started out in Greenish, didn't he? In New York. Also, a lot of the coffee houses were the places that he played his first shows, which is also essential to the cultural movement at the time, especially if you think about his significance and his almost generational voice of the 60s. So certainly these places are, as you said, all the juice is flowing, well, all the drinks flowing and the juice flowing, and obviously ideas that follow. Are you in a rush at all, Chi, or are you going to hang out with us tonight for a bit?
We got somebody else on hold too, Rob. 660, who's calling?
Yeah, I was trying to find out if Boo found the...
Hey.
Hi, this is Candy Brown. How are you?
Hi, Candy. How are you?
Hi, Candy.
Oh, good. I thought I'd pop in.
Yay.
Hey. Hi there. Hi, Rob. I don't think we've been introduced, but I've been reading your work, and it's awesome.
Thank you very much. So all the coffee.
Yeah, and that's funny because I was just making some coffee while I sit down. You guys put this poem on.
Did you miss National Tea Day, Candy? National Tea Day.
Or is it tea day? Oh, I like tea too, but I'm really a big coffee drinker, like
Me
my
too.
mom. And this poem that you guys just had on, I like Phil. I liked this piece that he put up here. And it was such painted a vivid picture and made me want to be there. I've never been to any of those types of coffee houses like this, unless you count Starbucks at Quincy, which is not anything like this. But there are a few people in there on their computers. But like you said, Boo, I don't know how they can even concentrate with the noise going on. But I would be like one of the beatniks of the 60s. I would like to go to these things, these coffee houses. I would sit there with my sunglasses and my drums, and I would be in the corner, and I would be dreaming up stuff. So I would love it. I would fit right in.
Yeah, sitting and rolling some cigarettes or, rolling something else, whatever you're into. But, yeah, having a good time.
We got somebody else, Rob.
Definitely.
11111. We'll put Candy next.
They had one in Washington that was like Blues Alley, and they would accompany you with actually music. They had jazz, that would accompany your poetry in the background. That was kind of, nice.
Yeah, that would be cool. I really like jazz. St. Louis is where I live close enough to. In downtown, they have some jazz places that you can go down to and have some drinks. I don't know that there's anybody in there reading any poetry, but I'm sure they probably wouldn't turn them away. But I do love jazz. I love all kinds, but they got some pretty cool jazz places down there.
Good job. That's good. Hey, who's that 1111?
You know who it is.
I know who it is. You little Racky Poo. How are you?
Hey, guys. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Rack. Thanks for joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good.
Rack, it's National Tea Day, Rack. Do you have any tea today?
I don't play golf.
I think we'll put candy up. A spot of tea doesn't suit you, huh? We'll put candy up and then tea.
Actually, I was always into tea before I ever got into coffee. I'm still kind of addicted to it, but, coffee's just easier with that single pod thing sometimes. I don't know. The caffeine helps.
Oh, I love those single pods, too. Those are cool. All right, Miss Candy, you're up.
Okay, you're going to put me up? All right, let me get over there. I just whipped this up last night, Boo, and I saw that you was going to have this show, and I found a place to stick it into. And for some reason, when you guys had that, you said pop culture. I'm from old school, so I go back a ways. And Donna Summer, I don't know if you all,
on the
know
radio.
Donna Summer. But, oh, yeah, definitely. And, they came out with this movie, and she sang this song, Last Dance, and it really
I was
took
just
off.
humming it today. Isn't that cute? All right.
Then, disco was a big thing. I grew up, and I really don't want to go back this far and tell you guys how old I am, but I can remember some of the old school groups. I've seen a lot of them. I've seen Rolling Stones, ZZ Top, Bob Seger, Nazareth. I can name a bunch. But then we went into the disco era, and the places were really hopping over here. Everybody, and I remember when this came out, and as soon as that song played, everybody got up on the dance floor. So I'll read this right quick. Pop is what you make it. There was a notion, hot as a fireball, and we grabbed it with gusto. TGIF songs filled with hope, passion, and one last chance. It was pop. It was cool, moving, grooving. A beat penetrating heart and soul, and Donna knew how to make it her own. I lived it, and every time hit music plays, my feet jump to that same recollection disco floor, believing that any voice, if forceful enough and cool enough, could change the world. And it did. And I relived through several pop culture through the years. And it certainly did change. I remember as a kid when the Beatles came on Ed Sullivan show. I was younger, but it made you could feel it clear across the country. And that's what pop did. By a song or by an attitude. I lived through the end of the 60s, Vietnam War. But definitely I've seen a lot of changes, and how pop one thing can really change the whole country, the whole face of the nation. Anyway, I had fun doing this. Brought back some good old dance days.
Well, perfect. Yeah, I mean, and fitting it's Friday. Thank God for that, for those that work.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And yeah, I agree with that. I wasn't around yet, but I mean, I think Tom Hanks did a documentary on the 60s and the British invasion part of that, and you just see, the Beatles landing in the UK. I always remember John Lennon's answer to the question about how he found America, and he said turn right at Greenland, which was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, they were just the sharpest, wittiest, guys around at the time, and something very new to what the American teens were experiencing. And funny enough that all of their inspiration came from, Chicago and the Delta, all of the, rhythm and blues that they were listening to from what made its way by the ships on Liverpool's a port town as well. So it made full circle, went all the way back. And yeah, I agree with all of your points. It's very true, how just you sometimes just feel this, something in the air that is a movement, and you don't quite know what it is, because when it's happening at the time, it's something very new, and you have these voices and these people that just take the whole culture with them, as I'm sure Donna Summer did. And
yeah,
Boo,
well said. And you know, not only music, but clothes, clothing. We went from bell bottoms to the straight leg jeans. You know, you
Shoe
can
pants.
just see it definitely with clothing. You know, you can just see, and the cars. Remember the 50s, the drag races, the cars.
the haircut.
You can just kind of take your pick, but you can see it all across the board.
And like I was saying with the Beatles going full circle, it's the same thing with all that fashion and the haircuts and everything. You know, I feel like there's some of the haircuts coming out today. You know, it's similar to a lot of the 60s and all that.
It sure does. It comes back. You know, hey, I've been through a lot of different eras. I've got clothes that I see right now that's come back after 40 years. So, you know, that all.
My daughter,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, she's like, Mom, do you know who Nirvana is? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, they're all wearing all the clothes, Nirvana, Def Leppard, and all this stuff. I'm like, came back again. Just gotta wait.
It's hilarious,
right?
It's hilarious. My son and I will be driving down the road. Now, get this. I start singing to a song he puts on, and he looks at me really weird. And he goes, "How do you know this?" I said, "Dude, we invented that music way before. I mean, you guys are all singing it again, but we had it out first. You know, don't give me that look. I know this song better than you." And he loves the same music again. So yeah, it comes back. It definitely comes back.
Yeah, think about also, I mean, like all the vinyl and all that, you know, record players being super hip again. Well, it was one of the first things I got when I moved out after school and got my own flat was a record player. And then you go down to, you know, you go down to the markets and the hospice stores, and you pick up old records, you know, like you were mentioning.
You know, I just thought the other day, that's sad because, you know, that's what I grew up on was albums. Oh, yeah, and the 45. And, you know, we were all in record clubs, and you would get like a new record each week. They would send you one of whatever. You had a choice. You could go in and choose out of, you know, different ones. And, you know, once you were in it, they would send you one every week. And now you can't find them anywhere, hardly. It's too bad.
Yeah, I think you know, South Africa's always so far behind catching up, but all of those things are still quite, you know. I remember people coming around to my place and they'll always be like, oh my God, you know, you've got vinyls, and then, you know, no one would listen to any sort of, you know, Spotify or YouTube because everyone will just be so involved in what it is. You know, you get the whole feel. You look at the sleeve and everything. You know, it's quite an experience compared to just, you know, clicking play on a playlist.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Very true.
What do you think of Donna Summers and the poem?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. You know, I was never a huge disco fan, but, you know, the couple of songs that she did were, you know, so iconic. It didn't matter, and she had an amazing voice. And, you know, as much as, you know, I didn't like disco, I was kind of, you know, a rock snob, but you know, I still enjoyed it. You know, sometimes, you know, some songs would jump on the radio and you kind of want to push the button before they got another note out because of that grating, but that wasn't one of them, you know. That definitely wasn't one of them. It's a different feeling, but, you know, like you say, it's one of those things. It's so iconic that it does come back and it does last, and I guess, you know, that's what makes it pop culture. You know, if it was, you know, a flesh in the pan kind of fad, it would fade out and disappear, and you wouldn't hear any more about it. You know. But, you know, that things like that manage to hang on. You know, it's funny, you know, you talk about the clothing coming back after 40 years. I'm a guy, I've got underwear that's about 40 years old. No, just kidding.
It's like information acting.
Yeah, too much info. We didn't need to go there.
I know. Hey, Boo, you got holes in your underwear?
Sure do. I sure do. Get the, you know.
Well, I have to ask a question too. Did I put the post on the right place for the SoundCloud thing or not? I was so lost.
Oh.
I was all over the place.
You got a SoundCloud or on yours? I didn't see that.
I put it on the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I put the recorded on the YouTube place where you sent me the link.
Oh,
when we do the shows, we normally go by the topic board. So, if you say there's an audio, look at the poem that you post on the topic board, and if we don't see it embedded in the link embedded in the poem, then we get confused. Normally, well, I shouldn't say normally. Sometimes the host will actually contact you depending on when they look at it. We get crazy with the schedules and everything and trying to maintain, the lists of what goes on the air and what's going on. So it can get very confusing sometimes. I've looked at stuff and swore that there was no link to a SoundCloud. It's right there in the author's notes, or, SoundCloud could be confusing sometimes. YouTube's a little more straightforward, but, as long as we have the link, and you don't have to be shy, too. You could put that on the topic board as well as the link to the poem,
Okay, so I can put the link to the poem that is the SoundCloud on the board, because I thought I wasn't supposed to, so I just put the words.
Well, at this point, we would have to download it, convert it, and upload it to the studio. It's doable. It's just confusing while you're trying to run the show at the same time.
Oh.
Could you check if it's there?
It's not your fault. You didn't know, Chi. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm the newcomer, so I figure out how to do everything.
But that's all right. We'll let you slide. I'm kidding. Yeah, I'll fix it for you. Don't worry. Thanks, Brack.
We'll electric slide.
Oh. Yeah.
Well, I tried to be
prepared. You're all right. I know you're here early. We give you props. You're new. Don't worry. It's all good. I like your poem. I like how it starts. There will be a notion hot as a fireball. And we grabbed it with gusto. TGIF song. So it just like gets you going. Like finally Friday's here. You could have a drink, relax, take off your work stuff, let all that bullshit kind of go. And then you hear her and you just want to dance. I mean, where you are, when you hear her, you want to dance. It doesn't matter what song, And I think it's happier times, too. Let's just party and have fun.
I had brought this up. I've been playing it. I have to move.
Yeah.
I just can't help it.
And she's the queen of disco, right? You did a good job believing that any voice that's forceful enough, cool enough, could change the world. That's a great ending, and damn right. I believe that, too. Awesome poem.
Thanks you guys.
For coming, too. You're welcome.
Oh, yeah, I'm having fun.
Miss anybody? Good. Yay, I'm glad that I stalked you.
I'm glad you do, too.
Oh, we got to get Chi to comment, I think. Right, Chi? Did you comment on Andy?
I think this poem was right on time. Very nostalgic. It reminds me of good times, and those were some powerful lyrics. The last dance for love. It was the lyrics were beautiful, very creative, and it's absolutely a time capsule in time that held a beautiful place where people who were in the Enlightenment, they freed their mind, and it was the 70s, it was the hippie. I used to tell people all the time, you know what, I'm going to stay a hippie for the rest of my life. I said, I got a ticket to ride, but I really don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
You get out there, you get out there. You can ride in the car all you want to, but when you get out there with the birds and the trees and you walk and see the atmosphere and the nature, you got it all. So having a ticket to ride in the car, you miss all of the scenery. And so the hippie is still in me.
Yeah, I'm a age tripper. So I'm a hippie when it suits me. When you want to buy the ticket, take the ride, take a trip, just a day trip. I'm not all the way devoted. I don't subscribe to the thing 24 hours. I can't get all the way in, but sometimes it's just convenient to just tune out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Boo, check it might be on there. I think Jay might have done it. The poem's called Ferocious, yeah?
Yeah, I got it.
Have you got an audio for that?
I've got that. Yes, I do.
All right, that's for Chi, so then we can play that next, yeah?
Okay. Ready? Yeah, ready.
Cool. I'll drop the link there.
Right now I'm doing good, I'm doing great. Some call it luck, some call it bless, some call it fate. But hold up, don't you sneeze and don't you move, let alone disturb this groove. Cause I know what goes out comes from within, and with the times comes the fixes fit. So hold up, let's say what? This world is broken. Who to shout, even the birds know when to fly south. Don't be a borderline fool with your mouth, because the tide will go in and come out. I say what? Say what? This world is ferocious.
This world is ferocious. It's ferocious out here now. Didn't work.
Hey.
Stay short of sin. Remember the times will go out and come in. You know the times will go out and come in. And start a brand new day again. Remember that actions speak louder than words. And have a good one. Don't be so smile. But look up.
We had a good time in the studio with that song.
Oh, you get it, girl. Holla. Holla.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. You go, girl. That was awesome. You ferocious.
Yeah, Boo, sounds like you enjoyed that. What were you? Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well,
that was badass.
This is the pop going into a different direction of culture explaining the times and the signs of the time and the change of the atmosphere and the mood and also just in spite of all that you see around you, keep your head up, stay strong, repent and stay short of sin. Remember that the tides will grow out and come in. And it'll start a brand new day again. Don't give up on yourself.
That's a great message. You go, girl. Keep it real. I thought that was awesome. Oh my God, I love the beat. I love your words. I love the message. You're ferocious. It's more women need to be like that. I think and everybody really, like you said, hold their head up. I thought this was inspiring. I love the beat. I wasn't thinking you were going to rap. That was even better than I expected. You're a badass, T. Loved it.
Everybody was rapping in D.C. in the 70s. I think they.
Yeah, you thought.
Well, everybody was getting into it. They were changing up. I did the 70s. Who's that knocking on the door? And your song and Police and Donna Summers, and so it was a lot going on, but it was a good. We was in Washington when they had the smoke out at the monument. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody was just like, we was hanging out grooving. I mean, it was just. It didn't matter who you were, sitting on the grass, and everybody was everything was everything.
Yeah. In simpler times, let's smoke one and hang, Love it. Racantour.
Yeah, the energy was infectious in that. It was great. As bad as my legs are, I wanted to get up and move. It was really cool.
I know, me too.
I liked, like Boo said, that you were rapping too. It just fit. And the long pause in the middle worked great too, because you waited for the beat to come around and everything. So that's very technical. It just fit perfectly with the production, what you were doing. It came over great. I really liked it.
Thank you.
You surprised me, Rob.
Yeah, you were saying you had quite a bit of fun making that, and we could tell. I mean, when it started out and I heard the music, I was thinking, is this the right thing? Because we weren't sure if we had the audio for that. But yeah, that was a surprise. And again, it got us right in the mood for Friday night. And with all that infectious energy and the upbeat nature of the song, there's also some very thought-provoking lines here and some real truth to it. It reminded me in a sense a bit about some of Tupac's writing from the 90s, and in particular it had a sort of, I don't know if you know the song Brenda's Got the Baby. It had that sort of feel to it, which as good as the beat and the backtrack to it was, and a lot of it's obviously sampling jazz music and rhythm and blues, and it's still got some very real truth to it. Things concerning communities, talking about heroin and all of that comes with that. The hypocrisy of that your words, they don't.
I want you to know, since you're the enlightened one, the song started out called The Tides, and it was talking about the waves that come in at the full moon and how people's emotions get energized into a negative state during the full moon. And I was outside at the 7-Eleven, and these guys had this argument, and then they broke out in a fight, and I looked up at the sky, and I recognized that, it was under the full moon, that it was a lot of confusion going on that night. I was like, it was just, problem after problem, but the moon was out. And that's the reason why, the tides that come out and go in bring in the moon, over the ocean. And this particular energy can have an effect on human beings and their personalities, and it can cause them to mellow out, or either it can cause them to, become, agitated. And that's the reason why the tides coming out and going in was an important, wording in that line to explain how the atmosphere really has an energy effect on the human beings coming down from the sky, and can change the energy of the person's personality. And that's true to fact. And what is that? Quantum physics.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Rob.
Yeah.
I
don't know if you're familiar with Yeats' The Vision. He's got the Great Wheel, which is exactly, I would recommend searching that. It's exactly what you're talking about now, 4 different phases, and it's actually a lot of the beats based sort of their original movements on as well on The Vision by Yeats. So something to check out that I think fits in with that. And Candy, what do you think of that?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? I was loving this. Great. This was a great piece, and she did an excellent job reciting it. The beat and I was looking here at the flow, the rhyme, everything was just spot on. I really loved it. I really did. I agree with what you were saying about, the times, and definitely the moon plays a part. I can always tell when I worked in the nursing, that was definitely nights on a full moon. The emergency room is always filled with fuller.
Yeah,
and
so true.
People are just react to it definitely. But I just love this. I loved how you set it up. I thought you rocked the hell out of it. Really, I was still grooving to the music. Excellent job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Really good.
I
really
put your coffee down and got a drink after that because, as Rack was saying, it's got you moving your feet and really getting into the mood of things now on this Friday. Boo, is anyone else with us? Is anyone in a rush or anything?
Nobody else is there. There's another show going on, so they'll probably come after that's over. But just us. So we could do that if you want.
Cool. Yeah, we can do Rax. You got an audio for that?
Yes, I do. And this kind of goes with yours too, in a way. Okay.
Well, I'll drop the poem on the board.
An old fogey's lament.
Whoops.
An old fogey's lament by Racantour. I must be getting older, and I think I'm going to cry. Things just aren't how they used to be, and I simply don't understand why. My idea of streaming is sunlight through a window, not movies from remote locations. And when I hear something doesn't click, instead of mouse issues, I think human relations. A cursor is someone that uses foul language, damn it, not a placeholder on a display. Keys are supposed to open locks on doors. Can you appreciate my brain's dismay? In my day, a web is where a spider ate. A cloud hung defiantly against the sky. Surfing was done in the ocean, and fishing with a rod and a fly. Windows went in walls. Apples got baked in pies. Cookies were dunked in milk, and shares represented stock buys. Ram was an animal with hooves and horns, and a drive is what you took in your car. Tweeting was the sound that a bird made, and backup was what you did if you went too far. Spyware was a trench coat, and pop-up what Toast did. Life was so much simpler when I was just a kid. End poem.
I love the voice. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's so great of you to get a voice actor. Boo, JC is on hold.
Oh, okay. Oh, we'll have to get to you next week. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, right. That was awesome. I love obviously all the relationships between all these things, and it has such a strong nature sense to it, with all the animals and the insects and all the things that what the root word means, and the traditional sense that's rooted in nature, spiders and webs and things in houses, windows and walls and rams and all that. And today everything is just, as we were talking about in the beginning, coffee shops, everyone sat there with their laptop, everything's just on there, people running entire businesses from their phones. But yeah, I think I find it myself as well, very often bemoaning the state of these sorts of things, because just completely impersonal and people are, just don't communicate anymore. There's so much to this. It's funny, yeah. It's a very, very good sort of performance piece as well, on top of the truth and the, slice of reality pie maybe as well. Boo, what did you think?
Actually, we have to do Jay first because he's on break, and then we'll come back to Rack. I'm sorry, Rack. Hi,
That's
Jay.
all right.
Yeah. Hi, Jay.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. First, I want to take that mask off of Rack, and oh my God, it's Old Man Jenkins.
Yeah.
The voice was great.
Yeah, I had.
Oh my God, you missed He was rapping, Jay.
Yeah, I heard it. That was amazing. That was just freaking amazing. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
Thank you.
We will come right to you, Rax. Okay, Jay?
All right. This is called Hands of Silk, and I wrote it to this picture. I went with the cultures of photography and gardening, and here it is, Hands of Silk. A dandelion seed floated in the Alberta whisper. Pinks fell in the August sun. Leaves browned and littered the topsoil. No robins were found in the hunt for crawlers. Snow knocked on the birch door. Clock faces panned the autumn equinox. Azaleas mimicked the Lazarus roll. Phlox betrothed the naked stems. The gardener's hand a tender silk, cloaking in the mulched linens. Blanket bond the cedar chip bedchamber, raised in the crescent moon glow. Sunrise sonatas whistled the tunes. Spring thunderheads thaw the chill. Buds in the light and the drip-drop rhythms. Colors at sky the Genesis shines. Florets dawn by the herding lamb ears. Creeping fuchsia resurrect the cockerel's comb. Child's treasure in the bubblegum petals. Loam in the nails of the caretaker's grin. Mother, oh mother, do you see the smile overgrown in the rust of your child's ride? End poem.
Damn.
Very, very cool. Jay, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Nice to have you this evening.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
And yeah, Rack, you have a comment for Jay on the...
Yeah, this was really cool. I always like, you give us such vivid imagery, and you tend to make it more than just the surface. You can enjoy it just reading it and listening to the pictures and kind of following along, but you tend to hide. At least I see. I'm to read into some of your metaphors, the way you write them, sort of open-ended, and hide other meanings to it, whether you intend it or not. It appreciates most of that. Talk about a rusty toy is just a rusty toy, but it's indicative of the passage of time and using it and playing with it and possibly even growing to neglect it and things like that. So all those things, when you add that up and put it into your poems, make them so multi-layered and really very deep. So I really appreciate this. Right, this was phenomenal.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome comment, Rack. I absolutely agree with that as well. All these things, also even a reflection on the hobbies and the topic of or theme of the poem in itself. How photography and capturing still frames of nature or whatever it is has always a bit of a deeper meaning, and particularly it has quite a bit of symbolism to what they could mean, instead of just something that on a surface level, what it appears, at first sight, and as we've been saying with all these things of our culture, as you say, with the Lazarus role and equinox and coming full circle and things, going in and out, and the ebb and flow of, as you've also mentioned, the moon and the biblical references of the sky and Genesis and all these things. It's perfectly in sync with what we've been talking about, and even with again to Rat's poem previously as well, that it ties in so well with that. The symbolism of your poetry that I've been fortunate to read lately is just fantastic, because it's so multi-dimensional and layered. The interpretations are quite quite open and deep, and that it means something to you, and that's as we should write, because there will be a sense of relatability to people that read it, because I don't think anyone goes through things in isolation. But again, it's not that it's just so single lane that if you don't kind of, find something in it, that is completely out of tune for you, because there is always something. If you take it as a photograph, or if you look at it as a work of symbolism, that means, what it is able to mean. Right.
Yeah.
Chi,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
I was just thinking, I thought last time that his poem was excellent, and I don't know. I just think he just keeps getting better and better. I could see him. I think he'd be great with like the open mic poetry at one of the cafes or the coffee houses, because it's like the way that he expresses and explains his in his poem. It actually creates a vision, a graphic vision in the person who's listening. You can actually, see the vision of what he's talking about. This is another great combination visual poem, and once again, you did an excellent job of helping us to stretch our imagination with you, taking us there in mind. So it was beautiful.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great comment.
Thank you.
Candy, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah?
I just loved it, and it reminded me of a simpler time. Immediately put you into a peaceful serenity. The phrases and word choices, which were beautifully done, described just like the image, puts you in that peaceful feeling. And a lot of people garden because of that. And the imagery was excellent also. I enjoyed the way that he read it too. I think she's right. He would really do good at open mic, reading some of these pieces. But I really enjoyed it. It was put you in a peaceful mood. Lovely.
Thank you, Candy.
It was very lovely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Very welcome.
Yeah, great comment. Boo, you have a last comment for Jay?
Yeah, this is really good, Jay. I think the page is really deep. I think it has a lot more to do than just with gardening, and and the metaphors and the descriptions are beautiful. I mean, it sort of reminds me of a rebirth. Snow knocks on the birch door. An equinox, like a new start, a fresh start. I see with these tender hands, maybe. Now the sunrise is coming. And I love how you describe the bubblegum petals blown in the nails and the caretaker's grin. Feels like you're taking care of them and they're taking care of you. And I thought it was really beautiful and unique. One of your best lately, and they're not too abstract, so I got it.
All right, thanks, Boo, and there you go for your auto rank 11.
There you go, an 11. I never got an 11.
One goes to 11.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. This is a Spinal Tap poem right here.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is my contest. Probably going to win, but I think.
All right, everybody.
You.
I got to get back. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Cheers, Sharon.
All right. Back to Racantour.
Yeah.
Where did I go, damn it?
Shit, you do that perfect, Rob. That's so funny. And, you know, what you say about the technology is so true. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know shit about technology. And my dad's one, for sure. And the older folks, they don't want anything to do with it. They don't want nothing to do with it. They don't want to know anything about it. My dad actually thought, I'm not even joking, that the mouse pad was what do you call it? What did I call it again, Rick? The thing you use on a sewing machine. Use it on a sewing machine and you pump it like a pedal.
Oh, the pedal. Yeah, the pedal on the sewing machine. Yeah, that's old school tech.
Yeah, he actually thought that. I said, oh my God, you are so helpless. But your voice, oh my God, the voice was so cute and so right on the money. I would have believed you were an 8-year-old man, and it was creative and fun and full of life, and I loved it. I thought it says a lot about today and there's a lot of people, and I work with a lot of doctors who refuse to learn anything about the computer or anything about a computer system. They don't want anything to do with it. They don't want to learn it. And they're going to be shit out of luck soon. So great job, Rack. Fun and entertaining. Loved it. And I love the voice.
One of the things about technology, when it's done right, you don't really need to know some of the technical stuff behind it. That's what's so confusing about it. All people know is, I push here and this is what happens. So, they don't need to know, more about the background. They just need to know that this is what I do to make it work. And the rest of it kind of gets lost. And, the easier we make it, the more like information we put on people's fingertips, you could kind of tell how old they are because how they relate to the words that you use. Because now, the definitions have changed and the lexicon has grown to the point that, some of the acronyms have wormed their way into the dictionary and become words like LOL, LOL. It's like, you say that to an 80-year-old man, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's the reverse of it. But, at the same time, you talk about streaming, they're going to think you're talking about something completely different than downloading a movie. So, it's really wild.
Yeah, and that's coming from a tech nerd.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's always been the same. And something they're talking about recently is the law of acceleration. The faster that we move and the more advanced we become, the faster things tend to move. If you think about, as you're saying now, the 80-year-old man who won't get what lol means, them saying groove or groovy in their own time, they're 80-year-olds of that time were like, okay, well, they're talking about a groove in a whatever, in a surf or something, and not because of the vinyl grooves in it.
Drop the needle means your nurse lost your insulin on the floor.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or even cheese bit about the needle as well. It's
yeah. It's a dying expression. Vinyl disappeared, so nobody drops the needle anymore,
Yeah, that's so true. I love vinyl.
I just want to find out what's going to happen with the next generation when they realize that the terminologies that are being used have switched and changed on them, and they become baffled at, because technology is changing like every 6 months. There's a new invention in technology, and it's just going on and on the next 20 years. It's just not. It's not even going to look like it looks now. And so this is going to go on and on and on for every generation. It's going to come to a point where we're all going to go through the point of being left behind. And those who are in the know now have no idea of what's to come, but we're all going to get a turn at this of not knowing and not being able to keep up.
What's wild about that is it feels like, you know, when you go to school, it's like by the time you graduate, what you just finished learning is already obsolete. You know, it was almost, it felt that way big time back when I was, you know, learning computers and stuff. You know, it's like what I just learned last week. It's like I don't do it that way anymore. It's like, but you're still teaching it that way in school. You know, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, boy, it'll come a time when you'll be just like your dad because time waits for no one. No one. And I don't care how much you try to keep up. The hustle and the bustle of the world will eventually keep speeding up. And because you're getting older, you're going to slow down. And the pace that you're keeping up with now, you won't be able to do it. And then you'll become your dad. So I suggest we all take it easy on each other, no matter whether we know or we don't know, and realize we all going to get a turn. And so just take it easy. Just take it easy.
I don't know. There's times when you want someone to be hard on you, and that's all I'm going to say on the subject.
Yeah, that's
I mean, but as long as you realize that you're going to get a turn, what goes around comes around. As long as you understand the same heart that you gave out is a boomerang effect, and Rob knows about the boomerang effect that goes on in energy. Anything that you dish out to someone else eventually is going to come back. And that's how karma works in the mathematical of geometry, and physics. And so don't give out anything too harsh that you're not willing to receive. You live in a glass house. Please don't throw no stones.
Yep, exactly. Words of wisdom. And Rax, I was just thinking about your comments, and one of the classics is always thinking about in school, as they said, you know, when you're doing mathematics, you're never going to have a calculator in your pocket at all times, you know, telling you, well, you have to learn your sums. But I've seen some also adverts from the 80s where they've got a room full of, you know, stereo, they've got all sorts of things. And it's like, well, you know, right now, all of that, the whole room of technology that they've got on this full page adverts fits on a single device that you carry with you in your pockets at all times, which also ties into something else that I seen this morning. They were showing the difference between needles, and this isn't, again, anything about my views on it or anything, but just something funny, satirical, that you take it as that. They were showing the difference in needles between a vaccine needle and a needle that would be used to implant a microchip. And what someone actually commented on that news article was saying that is actually still too small because the range that can be detected is just too near. And they were saying you need something a bit bigger, maybe around this size. And he put a picture of a mobile phone and say basically, you know, you're worried about getting a tracking device, something like that, but you know, this is what you're carrying around at all times anyways. So that's pinging every time, or every single second, you know, whether you have profiles or not. These companies keep the data for sometimes up to 50 years of all of your movements because it's all communicating with the towers at all times. So that's funny. But yeah, I feel, you know, that it's easy to be cynical and to be despondent or even to get depressed about these things, about, you know, well, things are moving so fast. But I still believe that there will always be a place for a personal or interpersonal relationships and these sorts of things I don't think really go out of fashion, as we've been talking about quite extensively this evening, things going full circle. And I think that a lot of the traditional circle values and things, they still have relevance, and they don't go away. For example, just treating each other kindly, as you touched on, it's not going to go out of fashion anytime soon.
No, we're going to need that forever.
Well, we hope it doesn't go out of fashion, but the culture's kind of indicating that, the way some people behave, you wonder if they were raised by wolves, as they used to say.
But they're changing up to the point that some of the generations now, they have a lack of empathy for one another.
Yeah.
Now, I had a younger one who had a kid, and all they knew was the Pampers and the Loves and so forth and so on. So they got into a point where they had the diaper bag, and they got stuck on the train. You understand? They got stuck on the train and then didn't have enough diapers in the bag that they thought that they had or something, or didn't pack right, or whatever the case may be. And see, my grandmothers, they taught us about having the cloth diapers for extra in between the cloth diapers and the rubber pants, for the leakage. And so I went out and bought this young lady. She was like, "So what's this?" And then I showed her the pins, and she was like, so how does this work, And so when you go back, and then I said, well, you just keep them around. In between you going to the store, if you run out of money or you get in a jam and you don't have these diapers that, come presto changeo, ready to go when you're ready to go, and you run out of these, you need a backup plan in between finance, money, or whatever the case may be. You got the cloth diapers. They're going to be there. They're going to be there for months and months and months. You move them in between the times when there's an emergency and stuff like that. So here I am showing her how to fold and put a cloth diaper on a baby. But she got a child. I don't have any children. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm showing her something that was back in the day that could benefit her now. They don't know nothing about this. But they got kids.
Put down newspaper, let the kid run around with no pants.
So when you combine the old with the new, you have more. When you just leave the new all by itself, like that's all that exists, you limit yourself. Just because, it depends on the circumstance. You got to realize everything has its own beauty that can be added to. In a collaboration, it all works out.
You know that expression, learn from history. I know that's going to spark something up when I say that.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, a lot of things that it just comes down to, you don't have to understand the full extent, but a lot of things, it's just about removing yourself from the situation and thinking about what people from a different time or from a different generation are going through. If I think about younger people, that you think about these people that have literally got completely different, their brains are completely wired differently, because since a young age they've been involved in social media and that, and their dependency, they're literally addicts, for that dopamine fix of getting, notification and getting that
a quick fix,
gratification, exactly, that instant gratification. And if you think about these people of teenage ages that are literally junkies, it changes things completely. And whether you have empathy for it or not, I think we should at least. It does put things into perspective, and it helps a sort of relatability. And I think the same thing for them of that age, to understand that is their climate and that is the world that they're born into. You can't help much about that. but to understand where people from another age and another generation are coming from when they say, you know, you should go and do this and you should go and do that. I mean, no one's really getting off on saying to someone of, you know, a younger generation, go outside and, you know, go and smell the roses. Who's getting off on that? It's actual advice because you want what's best for people. And when you see things this way, it does change the landscape quite a bit.
Well, when technology fails, you're going to need a backup plan. You're going to have to know how to do something without any computers or anything else, just in case everything that we have now breaks down, falls apart. There's this one girl, she was supposed to sing at the nightclub and then turned around and got to practicing so much until she got laryngitis and didn't know. I said, we used to gargle in warm water and salt. And she tried it, and before the nightfall, she was ready to get back out on the stage and sing. They don't even think about that kind of stuff anymore.
Their parents didn't teach them either. And their parents didn't teach them either. A lot of kids, their parents don't teach them shit. They have no manners.
You get the laryngitis. You got to get the mucus out of the throat. You get the salt and the heat from the warm water and pull it out. They don't know nothing about that.
Common sense. They don't have any common sense.
They don't even know how to write. They don't even know how to write in cursive anymore.
No, you can't even know. And
you write something in cursive. Certain kids look at it and they're like, you know, I can't read this.
Yeah, they're very lazy, very.
And this girl had a week contract, a contract for 2 weeks, already signed. If she had missed that appointment that night on her first day on the job singing at that nightclub, they could have sued her. She didn't sign her name on the title. I said, girl, you better get you some salt water. You know, and they didn't know nothing about it, you know. Save the day.
Common sense. Some people don't know common sense. Candy, what do you think?
Well, first I want to say what a talented group you have tonight. Singing and voices, and this was, I'll read you what I put. This was an adorable piece and so clever. I love the voice, love the humor of these well-written couplets depicting this fast-paced world that we can hardly keep up with, which is now nearly unrecognizable. I have to tell you that when my mom turned 90 and she decided she thought maybe she might get a computer, a laptop, and I thought, oh, great. I'm going to be up there every 5 minutes. And, you know, so she wouldn't know how to run it. And I know that if she thought she did, I would have to turn around and go right back up there and show her something else. So thankfully she didn't. But this was really cute. I enjoyed the read on it, the way you read it too. This was so fun. These are some of the fun pieces are the ones I really like to do the best. But, yeah, you did a great job. Definitely, if my dad was alive, he would not recognize things today. He would be just like this, and my grandpa. So this was really a fun piece.
There's a joke about a fly buzzing around, and, you know, the guy going to swat it, he was reading the paper, and he goes to swat it, and he cracks his tablet.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, as you just said, you know, it's something that's quite it's a comical write and all that, but you know, here we are talking about you know the depth and the severity of the content for half an hour because there's so much to it. You know, if you could keep going for another 2 hours on it, you know, if I have to sometimes just stop myself because the thoughts just completely go wild. So, yeah, there is just so much to it, even though it is, and that's, you know, what the French movements knew with their satire and even, you know, well, the Greek philosophy schools with their, you know, works of divine, well, comedies and all that as well. It's a great write, Rack. I think we'll move on. I think we expect in a few more callers. But in the meanwhile, I think Stephen has an audio. Yeah, Boone, you got that?
Yeah.
All right. And I'll drop that on the board.
Okay. I think it's called toilet paper, right?
Yeah, I wrote some toilet paper.
I like
All those poems I wrote on toilet paper by Steven76. All those poems I wrote on toilet paper, I wish I hadn't now. I'm sitting here needing cleaning, and I cannot fathom how. The thought of using my hand does really make me ill. The way my fingernails will look just gives me quite a chill. My shirt is hanging next to me, but it's my favorite one. A pair of sweatpants next to it, but belonging to my son. I have been here now for hours. It is beginning to itch. Think of all those corona hoarders. Life sure is a bitch. My wife is helping brainstorm. She's right outside the door. My legs are both asleep right now. My anus is so sore. Idea strikes, eureka! I tell her, get the garden hose. She runs out fast to grab it, but then I hear, oh no. It seems the damn thing is too short. This situation blows. So I'll sit here an hour longer while she runs to local Lowe's. End poem.
Yeah, I think we've all been there, haven't we? You know, just once you've done your business and you looked at where the bog roll's meant to be, and there's just niche. You know, it's one of the things that an uncle of mine taught me, and this is again, it goes back to even Rack's piece about, you know, there's no substitute for experience and going through these things. There's no app for this situation. Well, maybe there is. You can maybe get like an Uber toilet paper sort of delivery or something. But you know, with just one sheet of paper, you fold it in 4, and then you tear out the little piece in the middle, and then you use your finger. Sorry, this is very visually upsetting. Then you use that little corner piece that you tore, and you just get that bit under your nail. So there we go, folks. Some
oh my God.
You know,
great. Thanks so much.
Exactly. Rules to live by, and you know, as I said, you don't get that. You can't get that on your phone, can you? Yeah, I think this is such a clever, funny write, and you know, again, I mean, not to be overly, well, you know, pretentiously profound, I would say, and to go and say, well, all the things that this could mean, but I think it works again. It works very well with Relaxed Piece, where it's at the same time very humorous, very relatable to some extent, because I think, well, maybe it's just me because I didn't stock up in the beginning of lockdown and fill my whole garage with toilet paper, like some, you know, I mean, imagine that. You know, imagine like, you know, you're looking in the, I just think it's ridiculous, but, you know, well, they haven't had this situation, so maybe they were onto something. Rack, what did you think of this one?
Racky Boo. We may be on, let me check.
Well, that's all right.
No. Oh, that's my fault. You know what? I put him on mute. So sorry. Rack, sorry, Rack. I'm tripping.
No, that's all right. I actually dropped and I had to call back because that's why I went up on mute. It's not your fault. But yeah, I had heard this one before, and I love. You know, I didn't realize it. You know, I have a couple of lists. I started categorizing some of my stuff, and I got frustrated early on with all poetry because when you look at people's bookmarks and stuff, it doesn't designate like when you bookmark someone else's piece. So I have a separate list for stuff like that. And, you know, every once in a while I'll hear something that I really like. I want to nominate for the front page. I'll maintain. I have a little list. You know, if people have the same taste as me, they could look in the list and they'll see, you know, a bunch of stuff hopefully that they'll, you know, enjoy and relate to. And, you know, over time I went back and I started looking. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize, you know, I'm a Stephen fan. It's like I must have bookmarked 4 or 5 of his poems. He's got a way of writing that's, you know, it's not just relatable. it's almost endearing because he talks about everyday stuff. He doesn't get too esoteric. He talks about being in love with his wife and normal stuff that's just so relatable. And he's got a sense of humor that's biting and he's the kind of guy you want at your party because he's going to have the conversation and the little corner of people all laughing. I really appreciated this. I kind of knew where he was going with it when excuse me, when he brought up the garden hose. But that's only because I have a similar sense of humor. So again, that's probably why I appreciate him so much. Well done, Stephen.
Rob, how about you, Candy? How about you, sweet Candy?
I was just thinking that you never know where inspiration is going to come from, even in the bathroom.
That's so true.
I was one of those types of people who, when I first came, I was getting inspiration from everywhere, and I had to keep my pencil and paper with me all the time. On my way to work, on my way home, I would write down any thought or whatever. And so this tickled me. Real fun piece again, and great quatrains. He's got the rhyming down, just great. Got the point across definitely. This was another fun. Stephen has got, I can tell, the same sense of humor that Rack's got. So that was very cute piece. Enjoyed it. Listening to it.
Gee.
Cricket,
there,
cricket.
Chi? Mama Chi. Maybe she's not. Well, I read this before, and I thought it was funny then, and I think it's funny now. I'm the same way, Candy. Like, I'll write on menus and on napkins and on my hand and wherever, whenever I come up with an idea, and I'm always writing something, it seems. And people are like, Jesus Christ, do you ever run out of things to say? I've never had writer's block, so that's why I have 1,000 poems. But so I thought this was funny and fun. We've all been there, like, or you're so close, or, you take the last piece of toilet paper, you take the last whatever, and no one puts it back. I hate that so much. And then my daughter doesn't think she doesn't put the toilet paper back on the roll. She sits it on there. She doesn't put it in the thing. And that annoys me too. So I've been there. I thought it was really cute, clever, fun. And you're right, Rack. Steve is really funny, the guy you'd want to have at your party. So great job, Steve. And Rob, we heard your tips, but, I don't know if you want to go.
Yeah, I've never been able to write some toilet paper. I haven't had that good fucking 2-ply. I've always got that thin one that is just. I hope Stephen invites me around sometime. I'll plan my bowel movements in sync so that it all works out. All right. I think we've got one for Rick, which is an audio, because I'm not sure. The rest, if they're calling in or anything. Yeah. So if you want to play Rick, we can do that.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. A couple people dropped. So, let's see. Rick, is it called Tree?
Art. Impermanence.
Oh, art. Okay. Oh, I know why. Because I got it here. Okay. Wait.
Art Impermanence, written and read by Ray Cow. Fingers touch a pain, damp, cold. On subtle lines are traced. Slight rivers in crooked tributaries, slow melding, flowing to a growing still sea. Tip sweep, small ticks elongated on one side. Gulls, Above, a child's sun radiates scribbled rays below. Naked trees weep to their flanks. A blurred house, a smudged bee, flowers that bend, petal heavy in liquid smears. The running canvas chaotically full, higher art obscures lower, disfiguring, destroying. The last drawn obscene by necessity. And an embittered hand under its own command sweeps down with a conceit like the wrath of God and is left sodden, dripping with the thin, acidic blood of creativity.
Great piece, Rick. Thanks for sharing with us. Yeah, I think this is fantastic. One, I've only recently heard his reading for the first time. I think this is third or fourth, and yeah, it's really fantastic. I mean, as we were saying with Rack, the sense of and even JCA, the same thing, you know, the sense of performance art that goes into it, and the ability to draw you right into the feeling of it as well, and not just a sort of unseasoned recital and just something that's without any feeling or movement behind it. Whether it be something which, in this case, is a lot more serious, or a lot more dramatic. Not exactly a comedy piece, is this? But in a sense, there is also, you get that bit of that bite as well. You know, with the thought of the running canvas, chaotically full, higher art obscures, lower, disfiguring, destroying, the last drawn, obscene by necessity. And if you think about a lot of postmodern art, it is, it's completely for the sake of it. As you were saying previously, Rat, the thing about Stephen is the realism to it, not being very esoteric, or and then again it's transgressive realism without the misogyny of someone like Bukowski or whatever. But a lot of the postmodern art being just falling onto that and using that as a bandwagon to say that, well, you just don't get it, but it's not really, there's no meaning to it. They're just putting a bunch of things that, or if you look at some of the actual visual art, just being completely pathetic in my opinion, and then just saying, well, this is what it symbolizes. Well, this is the same thing that, maybe Renaissance painters were symbolizing, but look at what they've done. It took them, 4 years to paint that, but, it's not just a blank canvas with, you throwing some things at it, maybe shooting a paintball gun at the canvas and saying, well, look at it's the violence and blah, 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 well, come on, So yeah, I think there's a lot to this, and a lot of thoughts as well on our perhaps culture and all that goes into it. If you think about some of the postmodern architecture, even if you look at the things about the house and all that, and the almost the picture that he's adds is as well being almost like a childlike drawing. If you look at a lot of the postmodern architecture, it's just completely an eyesore. You look at a lot of the area that I live in, it's a lot of you get a lot of Cape, or it's called Cape Dutch architecture, and it's a lot of these they've literally built the places out all on the side of a river, and they would take the riverbank soil and mud and make the bricks out of that, and then build these fantastic, exquisite houses and buildings. And you look at some of the shit today, and it's all crumbling apart as well, because it's just poorly built. But yeah, I think there's a lot to this, and definitely a lot of food for thought on the culture, and very relevant for our theme this evening. Rack, what did you think about this one by Rick?
Yeah, I enjoy Rick Reed's. He's got a distinctive style and a beautiful voice, and it goes well with what he writes about. And this was stunning. The style, I don't know. It's probably because I'm American and I hear the accent, so it takes me away a little bit. I think of something older from the old world, more classic and stuff like that. But he's very versatile. He doesn't just write that way. So it's somewhat, I want to say misleading. But he's always very enjoyable and multi-layered and emotional. And this was beautiful.
I agree. There's definitely a lot of emotion behind that, and you get that sense from him that it's not just something that's quickly, written on toilet paper to run that theme again. It's something that really is curated and carefully conceptualized. Boo, you there?
She probably got pulled away by her boss.
Sorry. Need a second, sorry.
That's okay. Is anyone else still?
Yes, I'm here, and do you want me to tell you what I thought of this?
Absolutely, I'd love that. I'm so glad that you're still with us.
Okay, here's what I wrote, and this is just how the abstract can move each person differently. This is what I wrote: powerfully vibrant relevancy with an abstract permeation that is unmistakable, leaves one asking the question, why am I here? Who is this creator? As obscure to understand as abstract poetry, but definitely moving when you realize it's all in black and white and we are stuck in the middle, somewhere where color is crying out to be heard. Creativity derives from creation, where art is and is all around us. That's kind of what I got from this. Just the way it moved me. There's such a simplicity, and yet it's so deep that, the abstract of it sometimes comes from a place we don't even recognize.
Absolutely, and great comments. And this is, again, something that is very close to my, personal, close to my heart and preference, if I could put it that way, in terms of art movements and why I think of things like the modernism movement, T.S. Eliot, and even to an extent, Joyce and Ezra Pound, and then even in art, things that Salvador Dali were doing, and them relating it back to the Freudian concepts of the unconscious and of dreams that were only being unraveled at that time, whereas then you get the postmodern movements of being things that are, you get the minimalist movements, and you get all these other weird things where a professor from Harvard, Louis Sass, actually wrote a fantastic book on this. It's called, I think it's Madness and Modern Art, and he shows, the actual relationship to, schizophrenic art and the way that the hemispheres in the brain work, and postmodern art being completely without empathy and form. For a good example I like to use is if you think about a drawing of an elephant, just doing tusks and maybe a tail and saying, well, that's an elephant. It lacks the empathy and the form that one would relate to a realistic painting, where you almost try and put someone in the feeling of this elephant and of the environment, where something is just like, well, you have to now interpret, which is good because, as you were saying, it leaves multiple dimensions open for interpretation, but at the same time, it at times it can come across as something that's lazy and poorly conceived and just almost, a bit bare and relying on, some sort of, just interpretation to be profound, but not having the actual substance to it. Boo, are you back with us? Could you comment for Rick?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm talking because she's not talking. I like the broader, leaving it open for the broader interpretation, like you say, because, even different from generation to generation, the interpretation is going to change based on, the pop culture like you're talking about, Usually I'll try and write a metaphor based on, my feeling, but I'll leave it open so that someone else might look at it and think, oh, that's, he's talking about his mother rather than his girlfriend or his daughter or something, I try not to lock it in so that it's not, very narrow,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like if I look at the three lines or three words, even the naked trees weep, and if you think about the almost the relevance of that on a indigenous or aboriginal level, you think about some of the kind of well, and also their relationship with nature and not being removed from it, and in a postmodern sense of us being the gods of the ecosystem, but rather being just another cog in this wheel, and which it should be. We rely on nature more than we realize, and all these things of creating things in laboratories. It's not really it's obviously very new in the sense of the data is going to take another decade or so to really get what it's doing to us on a biological level, but it's obviously not good because, it can't be. And you look at the things that are coming out, some of the viral infections, and those are the things you can read from it. I think Boo is ready, and I have those which I'm going to drop next. So I'll put that on. Boo, are you still with us?
Ready. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll write Rick a comment. I'm sorry, somebody was at the door.
Yeah. I've dropped
we missed you, Boo.
I think. As you know, I've probably written like 50 poems, and this topic was hard for me. I don't know why, but so this is my dedication to rap music. Awaken the rhyme. Now picture a dilemma, don't understand us poets. The power of the quill, yeah, bitch, I own it. Shivering and quivering, mentally evolving, problems are being solved in content. So follow the monologue and post your consent. Verbs are addictive, I predicted were restricted. To make it specific, I'm speaking of those who spit simplistic. And can't challenge the linguistic, y'all should fix it. Because I'm clearly depicted, your emotions are fiction. Wake up your dreams, wipe the sand from your eyes. Think about your rhymes, take the time to analyze. Yet, I try and harmonize with your situation, I can sympathize. The alphabet not murdered, possibly just paralyzed. You can alter the words, let them bleed from your quill. Have to be willing to give it all. If you don't, I will. Stop developing and don't hold back and lose focus. Maintain your strength and others take notice. Empty words, stand up and get your ass off the bench. Your deepest thought should be in the starting position. Condition your flow and ask for the pointers to opposition. And don't post known bullshit meant for encryption. Try and make it reasonable so your fellow soldiers can envision. Then while on the scene, haters talk about scattered dreams. Little Boo is unique, don't expect me to boost your self-esteem. Posers are out of words because I've already murdered the alphabet. Leave the less creative helpless because your verse is counterfeit. End poem. Huh.
And there we go, mic drop. Yeah.
Need music with that.
Yeah. Should have got some beatboxing in the background. Yeah, that's great. It's exactly what you've put down there. A lot of the things that we've just been saying, and it almost not that I'm looking at the fact that it was written 5 minutes ago, but it's almost as if exactly what we were saying inspired this, because that's, very on topic, scarily so even. This comes across, and it again ties into your theme of it being an ode, or in some sense a dedication to rap music. It comes to sense like a rap battle, and especially with your your mic drop effect, it has that sort of like you've been served, if you've seen that, like it has that effect. And then you can imagine people standing in a circle, and you're just having this sort of battle, and then it's exactly as we've been saying. Look at a lot of the culture and the shortcomings thereof, and you've completely you've taken that apart and dismantled a lot of that argument, because it is counterfeit. It's without any real feeling. It's it's completely vague for the sake of laziness, and just being completely without any substance, as a lot of the culture is today. I think it was a great write and very fitting ado. Rack, I don't know if it's just the three of us left, but
we'll party just the three of us then.
There you go.
You got your mic dropper there, Boo. Just like you said, that was really a cool flow to that, and the words and the topics flowed beautifully. It was laced throughout, so that it was cohesive and made a lot of sense. Sometimes people, and not you specifically, but sometimes people tend to bounce around. They'll throw any thought, and just because they're sitting there and they're hooked on the rhyme, they'll change from one subject to another. And my OCD brain, I hit speed bumps when I hear that, because I'm like, wait a minute, how did they get from there to there? But I didn't have that problem with this at all. It was, you're talking about the flow, and you're talking about your words and everything else, and each metaphor that you brought out was very powerful and relevant to what you were talking about, and making this a very solid and well-written piece.
Yeah, I agree very much. In also the in the essence of something like hip hop culture and of rap music, where it's not exactly it's the music of the people. It's the tongue of, if you want to say blue collar just for the sake thereof, but to say that it's the language of the streets. And you can't have there's a time and a place, and they are it's not to say one is better or one is more intelligent or whatever it is, because it is about the feeling, and it is about the way that it connects with people. And to say that certain forms of art are better than others because of their intellectualism is, it's incorrect, because poetry and art has always been an expression of the culture and of the society as it is at face value. If you think about rock paintings, if you think about poetry and the way that it was, before there was before there was a print media, that they invented these forms of rhyme and these metered stories to help them remember historical events. If you look at things that are in the Irish annals, or if you look at things that are in Morse poetry, Beowulf and the like, Norse, the relevance thereof, it's exactly a reflection of what was happening with society. And in certain elements, if you look at French New Wave films and that, you get the, as you were saying now, where it just jumps around. You get the jump cuts that Jean-Luc Godard was quite famous for doing, but it's just one facet of everything. And the fact that we can have all of these things together is something that we should normalize, and not have any sort of discrimination or any sorts of preference to different types because our own personal preferences, because it is very subjective, isn't it? I don't know. I've seen Lizzie's on the board. I don't know if she's calling in. I know she has a poem for us on the board. So
call in, Lizzie. Call in. Hey, we can have a double date. Just kidding. I was gonna say. I mean, is it rap music, freestyle? It's poetry. It's the same thing as poetry. You know what I mean? It's very hard to write. It's not as easy as people think, and it's, you know, artistic and creative, and people need to look at it as such. But a lot of people don't because of the content of some of it, not all of it. But now I don't really like the whole mumble rap thing. I don't know what they're saying. You know, what? You know, back in my day, you could understand what they were saying. You know, and they had a message and a point. I think it's kind of lost its way, but hopefully it'll get back to where it needs to be.
Yeah, well you take enough benzodiazepine, and that tends to happen with your mouth, or you take enough, of certain things, and it's very difficult to articulate certain words. You know, well, even after a few drinks, if you think about the, you think about what happens. The funny thing even is that I've heard certain rappers today come out and say that they're not even on them substances. Like, you know, I know that it's quite popular in the States, or it has been for several years, and particularly the place that I've moved to recently. I've moved to a new province in South Africa, away from Cape Town, and whenever I go for the walk, I see loads of cough syrup bottles just scattered all across the streets. And I know that's one of them, you know, that causes these impediments or slurs. And, you know, that's one of the rappers that I heard an interview of them saying, and I don't know if this is just them saying it or whatever, but saying that they don't even use the substances, but they try and put on that voice or that speech impediment, essentially, or that slur, because it's what's popular, you know, so... That's weird, but yep, that's the state of play sometimes. Anyway, I'll read one next. I'm not sure. I don't know if Lizzie's going to call in. Let us know on the board.
Not
Lizzie.
always Lizzie. It's not. Yeah.
And then we've also got
I'm trying to get rid of
Wayne and Salwa. I don't know if either of them are calling in. But...
Salwa's not feeling good.
All right. Well, I hope she gets better soon.
Salwa, we feel Salwa get better. And you know she would have been here already. So.
Yeah. Right.
She definitely. So, you know she must stay. She's very good.
You've got one for the Boo, do you?
Yeah, I do. She sent me. Oh, okay. I'll read it for her.
No, that's okay. I can read one for Ted Pilot in the meanwhile, and then we can do Salwa and go from there.
Okay. Then.
All right. This is I'll drop it on the board. This is by Ted Pilot. Is called Human-Shaped Disaster Between the Stars. It goes like this. At the interstellar crossroads, where the continuum is discontinued and synthetic pulses are disconnected, space quivers in the dusty death of a white dwarf star's afterbirth. Their magicians sit and play poker, shoveling lab-farmed crisps into their mouths, while dissecting nouns pulled out of a bottomless electric hat. Blackouts shadow the last farm, hulled together with tofu dreg, where gold spray-painted troughs filled with plastic pearls feed the lost boys and girls on their last wooden peg legs. In the sway of that dark disarray, the Bay of Plenty sells out, offering discounts on bluefin tuna and the broken body of Jesus Christ. while in the thick of the spending spree, bubonic fleas pounce from mice taxis, bending Eden to beg on knees. 2020 clarity strikes with grandfather clock wisdom as bells chime revolution, ringing the proclamation songs, singing, "We are the disease." End of poem.
Wow, great read.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, missed it a bit at the end. But yeah, what do you think of that, Rack? Or
I mean, partially trying to follow the formatting bothered me a little bit because of my eyes, but I mean, I love the word choices. There was quite a few phrases that really stuck out. You know, the cultural difference that you guys call them crisps. You guys, yeah, not Boo. Anyway, but yeah, I think we, you know what I mean. That's not a universal thing. So you kind of get a feel for where they're from and what they're talking about, and but the whole feel about being a disease and everything is very socially relevant, and it speaks a lot of the world we live in. In a frightening way, I heard a lot of fear in this as well. This is very well done.
Great comments. Boo.
Who wrote this? I was just listening at first.
Test pilot.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, I was like, okay, my second. Yeah, that. And I like human shaped disaster between the stars. Like, whoa, that's deep. See, he got a gold for this one, and from the pending pitch. So, lots of people like it. I like it. Interstellar crossroads, the continuum is disconnected. Whoa, space princesses. Oh, I like the space vibe on this one. Hold up.
The Afterbirth of Stars was gorgeous too.
Yeah, I like the grandfather clock, wisdom, bells chime, revelation. I mean, we're all the disease. I wonder what disease he's talking about. The broken body of Jesus Christ. Jesus. Nice text. Well, I really have to read this one like a couple more times, I think, to give like really good. I see loss of hope and a white dwarf stars afterbirth. Like, whoa. Magicians playing poker. Yeah, I'm a bit lost. Shit, I hate saying that. I think I'd have to read it again. But yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It is one of those, as you're talking about, something that's quite maybe esoteric or symbolic in a greater sense. You get from the start, you just get hit with a bit of a juxtaposition. Continuum is discontinued, completely, juxtaposed. Synthetic pulse is disconnected, and then if you think about a white dwarf, that's in the 1A binary system of a star, which essentially either turns into a supernova or a black hole. Stars that essentially kill each other, if you could put it that way, but suck each other into an explosion. And I think, again, as you said about the difference in...
Is this a good thing or bad thing, though, like this poem? Is it saying something good, or is it bad, or, you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's just something that's quite critical of things like hypocrisy and, because the offering discounts on, the broken body of Jesus Christ, talking about, bread, and essentially what his disciples, the people that were kind of his nearest and dearest, sold him out for, I can't remember exactly. Judas got for it, but it was either 20 or 30 silver coins, one of the two.
Yeah.
But selling Jesus at a discounted rate, and to think about that in a greater societal sense of what's happening with the things like our the relevance of things like religion and all that is that it if anything it does give us a direction and a sense of a moral platitude to relate to, and things that our societies have been built on have been elements of religion, whether you believe in it or not. I think that it had its relevance and it had its, you can look at things like the Dark Ages and that being a suppression of scientific ideas because of religion, but you think of almost a barbaric society without it as well. And then you do get the biblical metaphors with the the gold spray painted troughs and the plastic pearls. You think about the pearls among swine, the parable, and tofu dreg is another one. It's a Chinese, I think, metaphor, which means, tofu dreg is basically the leftover after they make tofu. Basically the much left. Yeah, exactly. And then again, like the Black Plague was started by the fleas, which came from along the Silk Road on rats and made its way to Europe. Who they had that sense of arrogance, the kind of Babylonian arrogance, which said, them building the Tower of Babel, look at us, that we're going to reach the heavens by our genius and our own acts and our own things. But there came the fleas from what started the bubonic plague and the Black Death from China or Asia along on these ships and essentially took Europe back centuries or at least decades because of the damage that it did. And I think, again, these are paraphrasing, but I think it's something like about between a quarter and a third of the population wiped out. You look at the COVID numbers and you think about the way that's changed the world and the way that's thrown the world almost off its axis. And it's such a small comparison. Not to say that it's not, what it is, but that imagine that sort of, that would be in today's terms something like 2 billion people dying. If you think about that, then that's completely changes the whole ball game. 2020 is clever because it's obviously the here and then also hindsight, grandfather clock wisdom. It's almost that jarring sense of a cuckoo clock where you get that ding ding, that the bell rings, and it does strike you at times. It throws you off of your maybe your relaxed state of mind. And yeah, I think it is very cynical, and maybe we are the disease. It leaves a bit of an open end to it, not saying that these are the thoughts of a solution, or of we are, and giving us a resolution, but maybe just something that's quite critical is the way that I've read this. Yeah.
Well, wow. Yeah. You understood it better than I did, that's for sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to read it again and read the comments. Okay.
It was 30 pieces of...
Who's next, my dear?
Yeah, you can read Salwa if you don't mind. if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I don't mind reading Pal Salwa. Get over there.
You can do it in French, Boo?
Huh? I am going to do it in French. Wouldn't you die? I'm going to do it in Jersey. Right? Nowhere near as exciting. I like the shape of that poem. I can never do that. It never looks right. Nice. Okay.
Hey, Rob, brag a little. How many languages do you speak?
Yeah.
I used to speak a lot more because in South Africa it's something quite unique. We've got 11 official languages. There's things like Xhosa, Zulu, Sotho, Pedi, which are all very similar. It would be like the Latin languages, like Xhosa and Zulu. Be like Molo, Zapawena. It's very sort of similar in the way that those are spoken, because Xhosa would come from the KwaZulu-Natal Kingdom, which is the Durban area, Pietermaritzburg, and then Xhosa slightly south in Transkei, Ndumbi, that area. And then when I studied, we did A-levels as the extramural, then I did things in play introduction, but I wouldn't say at all competence, maybe a level 3 in those. So, I would say, Afrikaans is another South African language, it's essentially like a knockoff of Dutch, because it's the Dutch settlers that came to South Africa mixed with the French Huguenots.
That influenced the architecture.
Probably 4 comfortably, but at school it was between 6 and 8.
Nice.
So,
just a little.
the African languages are quite interesting, because a lot of the things are they're the same as English, but it would be like things that the British brought to South Africa, like pens. They wouldn't have had a pen before, so it would be something like e-pen, just quite but
variation of the same word. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. It's always quite funny with the African languages, because as soon as you speak back to them, and I think people appreciate that so much because they don't expect it. A lot of time you catch them talking shit about you, But at the same time, if you speak to, like, for example, the people that work at the checkouts in the supermarkets, they almost light up, It's that, one, that you've kind of
you belong,
at least, especially with South Africa's history, because of the the apartheid history and the racial sort of inequalities that is very much steeped in the country's history, and the fact that the one thing, it's one thing saying that this is the truth and this is the privilege that we might have, and acknowledging that, it doesn't mean that in a sense that I feel that a lot of what today's culture, and then again to go into much of our theme for this evening, is built on things of I personally believe that it's something that's quite wrong in today's culture, the sense of almost making people feel guilty for things that are inherently not their faults. For being born as someone that's a male, for being born as someone who's X or Y, or a certain racial group or a certain religious background, things that are happening between, sort of Israel and Palestine, and it's not exactly as Hamas, and that's another one that, because of my grandparents are Jewish, so I did Hebrew as well in preschool, and there's certain things that you almost made to feel guilty about because of a modern sort of skewed perception, and it's not right. I think you have to acknowledge it and you have to accept it. But being forced to feel guilty about things, I also don't think solves anything. So this is a whole nother.
Yeah, a whole nother show.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's a dangerous conversation in today's climate. But Boo, do you have Sol's poem?
Oh, right. I just got Lizzie's for some reason.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I think I don't know why.
I'll drop it on the board.
Okay. Okay.
Steel Earth.
I am in the right spot. Okay, got it. Steel Earth, industrialized death, emeralds, terraformed to soot and ash, toilet green served on mechanical belts, lapis churned into metal gray, riverbeds now filled with steel-eyed fish, cybernetic adaptation, fear-driven life, chromatic grain fertilized by industry's hands. Whoa, in poem.
Wow. Great
read. And thanks, Lizzie, for sharing that with us. And again, it's this is why, in a sense, we do discuss these things and we try and reach the best sorts of outcome and consensus about the way to do it, because who really knows the best way regarding having shows centralized or centered on a theme and having a running topic or prompt, as you would say, or just having open poetry. And I think, there is obviously place for both, but as this proves, it just ties in so much with all the things that we've been saying this evening, and it's almost staggeringly relevant, the way that it just completely intertwines with our conversations that we've had this evening. And from the first line, in industrialization, from our first poem talking about the Age of Enlightenment and all of that, and going through to things of the mechanical nature and the industrialization of that, and talking about the surrealist art movement versus the more realistic art movements, and the way that it's open to interpretation from that. You go into the things about, the one that we've just read by Ted Pilot, talking about fish and, loaves, relating it to Jesus Christ. And now you've got steel-eyed fish, gear-driven life, talking about our sort of mechanical reliance, and the way that we've must become over-reliant on these things to, as we were saying earlier, almost about, if you have to change a diaper, you can't exactly press a button for that. One of the things I was thinking, but my son at the time to say, but it's maybe, it's quite funny. I was thinking, well, you could just maybe move to New York or to LA and let them go on the streets, because that's what everyone's doing there, isn't it? In these cities, you got these homeless epidemics and things where...
Well, you hear a lot of static.
Yeah, so do I.
You hear static?
Yeah, I think my air conditioner just kicked on. Hang on.
Oh. There's a lot in this. You know what I mean? Just the picture alone. And also, this is a different kind of write for Lizzie, I think, because she doesn't normally write about this. But, you can look at the industries, what they've done, good and bad, as far as, poor working conditions, poor living conditions, low wages, all that stuff, widespread discontent. But also the benefits, too, so everything has like a pro and a con, I think, there. But maybe cheaper prices, economic growth, maybe if they were lucky. I don't know. But this is really quick and to the point and powerful, and great job. Really made me think. Jackie?
Yeah, there's a lot of things behind this. I think the industrialization, like Rob said, that was the exact word I would have been fishing for. I'm glad you said it out loud. It's like dangling in front of me. I'm like, oh, I know. But anyway, I appreciate the thought behind this, because the runoff from the factories killing the animals and things like that, and I mean I think of the steel. I think of the structures that they build, and it's always shocking. Like, you're talking about the huts, and you've actually seen them, which is amazing. And they build them out of mud, and there's some areas where they actually build them out of crap. I think they mix it with hay and something else, and then I can't. I mean, logically, my head wants to say, it must smell in the summer, but at the same time, it's like it can't be like that. But the way people use what's available, and then the way technology can elevate that, and like you were talking about the effect that it has on the environment around us, and the hardest thing, I mean, we're never going to get more land, so all the plants and things that we kind of doze over and take over, we can never get that area back, and it changes the friggin' the atmosphere, the weather, the greenhouse effect, and everything else, and the air quality, and all the things that it does, all for want of trying to improve on something that's it was working, it was working before, and there's always that strive, but we can do better, and you wanting to be the one to do it, that's kind of when you talk about the development, that's where my mind tends to go, the effect that it has on everything, and I think that's what she was talking about in that last line when she was talking. What did she say again? Sorry.
That's okay. As she said, I got to get back over there. I think I had it right before. No, I'm looking because I don't remember. A chromatic grain fertilized by industry cannon. Yeah. I mean, the thought of replacing what's natural with what's unnatural. That's kind of what I get out of that. The chromatic means color. And I probably have to see what other definition attaches to that she might be attaching to grain. But the fact that I see grain and I see fertilized by steel. It's just like we're kind of destroying all that's natural. The steel buildings are great; they don't wash away in the tsunamis and whatnot. But then we lose the space to plant, the space for everything else. So that's a side effect we can't bounce back from. We got to find that balance, and we're possibly past the point of repairing all the damage that we've done, which is another scary thought. And all that in a tiny little brevity, which I know she probably wasn't thinking when she wrote it, but my mind, that's where I went, Lizzie. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I mean, 38 words, and it has all that, and it also led me to some of the thoughts I was thinking about from your eyes as well, Rak. The thoughts of all these things do have modern meanings and all that, but a conversation that myself and Boo were having earlier about how a lot of these almost ancient practices that different cultures share, that it's things that with now the scientific data, it still proves to be true. And it's just things that they've had from experience, The same thing with, all these things that we've done with the seeds that they're making that are, Monsanto and genetically modified, the effects thereof being made clear now, whereas these ancient cultures have known it all along. So, great, right. I don't know, time-wise, if we still good, Boo?
No, Boo's going to give you all the time you want.
I don't know. I think we've got 2.5. So I don't know if it's done now. But yeah, I'm not sure. We've still got Lawrence and Wayne. I didn't have Wayne done because I wasn't sure if he was going to